I think if you ask people and say to them, how much do you think your emotions and feelings or thinking affects your performance, most people will say massively. Whether that's because it's a positive experience and you actually get into the zone or whatever people want to call it, or whether it's a negative experience with anxiety states, an unwillingness to compete, or even choking in traumatic circumstances. But it isn't up for me to come in with a recipe book. I can't do that. I know that people can, I can't. I'm a psychiatrist, and therefore I get into the head of the person in front of me, ask what they want, and then help them get to that point. The biggest impact I've had in sport terms is cycling, and that's because I've been working with Dave Brailsford now for 13 years, and when we met there was just this natural affinity. We were both very similar in outlook, very similar in risk taking, and on the same page, so we communicate well together. And that's what I look for when I'm working with people, a symbiosis. So we bring the best out of each other in terms of thinking processes and moving forward. And I was then put in a position of management by saying, be in charge of philosophies, principles within cycling, let's get a culture set up here. So that was my initial remit, as well as helping athletes and staff to get the best out of themselves. So I think if you go into an environment where they're asking you to set a culture, that really does help. I think, again, it's common sense, isn't it, that if you're in a poor culture setting, then you're not really going to optimise your performance. If you're in a setting that's very supportive, you're much more likely to get the best out of yourself. My work at the moment in elite sport is really working with teams. I don't work as an individual, that's quite unusual. So whichever sport you go to, you're working with the expert in that sport. So say it's in football, you work with the manager and you work with the coaching staff. Same would apply in something like cycling. In golf, it would be whoever's coaching them. And usually in the room, there are 3 of us therefore in the room. So I can see people individually, but I need guidance from what they want. So all I'm doing really is optimising performance. I'm not the expert in the field, I'm part of the jigsaw. There's a big difference in how you work with a team and an individual, but I have to temper that by saying that if you go to somewhere like Liverpool Football Club, my job is to go in there and earn respect, earn my position in the team. And I've done that gradually. The lads then buy in, the manager does, so do the team coaches. And they have a culture in that team, and it may be very, very different to another football team. I have worked with a few teams by working with an individual within the setting, but I think Liverpool, when I walked in, welcomed me and welcomed the psychological aspects. And it was good. It's a partnership that I've got there, which means we work as a team again, and they guide me as to what they want, and I can say, yes, we can do this, or this is going to be difficult. Individuals, the same applies. If I got 2 individuals, say golfers, you can guess that they're going to be very different personalities, very different outlooks. So what you do with one person is different to another, but you do it within the culture of golf. And so again, whenever I enter an elite sport, I've got to learn that culture first, and then learn the person who's entered into that world, and then ask them what it is they want me to help them do. And that's basically learning a skill and giving some insight into how they're working, what their mind will and won't do, what the rules are. If I took you and ran you onto the track, where I'm more familiar probably with the sport than most, and I said, let's do 400 metres, there is no way you'll get up to optimum performance in 8 weeks. It's not physically possible. And I think every coach would agree, we can start you, but it probably would take 2 or 3 years to get maximum potential out of a person going to 400 metres. It's the same in my world. It's a skill base, which means some people who turn up and say, can you help me to manage my emotions and thinking and approach the world and myself in a different way, they can learn the skill quite quickly, but there's no short fixes for me. So I have to say to people, you're really talking about 1 year to 2 years to see significant change. So I'd liken it very much to like physical training. And when you do get there, from my perspective, you have to maintain that. It's like staying fit. You've got to stay psychologically fit. And there are ways of doing that. And so I teach people that and expect that they'll follow that through. It's a massive privilege to be welcomed into the England squad to give some support, and I've had just a few dialogues at the moment with the top guys to say what is it you're wanting, and I've got meetings to come. And as far as England goes, all I can do is work with the lads, find my feet as quick as I can. We've only got about 8 weeks, and I'll probably target certain individuals who may be what we call social architects, who will influence the others, hopefully work as a team. But I don't know. I've got to wait till I meet Roy Hodgson again and say, what is it now is what you want from me? What's my remit? And also the coaching staff. I've just met the medical staff at the moment. I need to meet the coaches and for me to offer them what skills I've got. But I think what Roy Hodgson said to the press when he announced I was going to come in, and they said this is the penalty shootout we're going to improve on, is the guys do the penalty eventually, it's not me. All I can do is contribute my aspect to it and say this is most likely how you'll get your mind to function well, and these are the techniques I would use and the skill base I would use, and try and get them to use that. And then again, if they say this doesn't work for me, that's my place to get out of the way, let them do what they do. If they say this is actually effective, then obviously I prime that skill up so we can do the best we can. It's always a privilege to work with any sport, and obviously to represent your country and say this is England going out with the national sport is a massive privilege. So it is exciting. I just have to contain that completely and just say these are 11 lads eventually going out to try and do something with their feet and a ball on a piece of grass, and my job is to make sure their minds are in the right place and let the rest of the staff do their job.